And welcome to the Baking Chin, the show that tries to show that baking is fun, easy, and I think rather appealing. So today we're going to make conchas, or Mexican sweet shell buns. And if you've never had them before, they're these kind of fantastic, sweet and soft and supple buns, which are, of course, my favorite kind. And they're topped with a crisp cookie with a pattern, and they're just delightful for picnics or get-togethers, or even just in the morning when you want to eat some sweet, soft, supple buns, which I often do. So, let's get started. To make the dough of the conchas, we shall need 500 grams strong white flour, 15 grams instant yeast, and 80 grams sugar, 250 milliliters warm milk, 80 grams soft butter, 1 egg, and 10 grams of salt. Start by mixing the yeast, sugar, and milk until dissolved thoroughly, and then mix in the egg thoroughly. And now add the flour and butter and mix this completely and thoroughly. Pour out onto a table and add the salt on top, and then knead well for about 10 minutes or until the dough is smooth and elastic and bouncy. And if you're hand kneading as I am, try not to add too much extra flour. As you can see, I do not use extra flour. I just use the bench scraper to keep it from sticking. All you need is a little elbow grease, I would say, to really keep things from not sticking. And after some vigorous, violent kneading, as you can see, the dough is getting very, very smooth and very elastic. If you put your thumb in it, it springs back immediately. And this dough is ready to be proved. Now let this rise in a bowl for about an hour or until doubled. To make the pasta or the cookie dough topping, mix 100 grams of flour, 70 grams of butter, and 80 grams of sugar. And don't be afraid to use your hands. Another thing you can do is add a little food coloring or flavoring. For these ones I put a little pink food coloring in rose water for extra flavor and color. And when the dough is risen, plunk it onto a wood surface and weigh out about 12 80-gram buns. Now roll into tight boules, and this might seem a little daunting, but you just need a little practice. And you need to remember, with trying to make tight boules, the main thing is surface tension. Now to put the pasta or cookie onto the concha, you want to roll it into a ball and then kind of pat it in the palm of your hand into a rough disc shape about the size of the bun. And then you place it on top of the bun very violently, very flattening to make sure it fuses well with the bun, as shown. And now make a pattern by gently scoring the tops of the buns with the back of a knife. And let this rise until double, about 40 to 60 minutes, and then bake at a 350 degree F or 180 degree C oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until the buns are golden and the topping is crisp. But here are the finished conchas, and as you can see they look very attractive with all their various patterns and colors. I'd like to note that you don't have to just keep it limited to shapes made with the butter knife or the usual shell pattern. You can also use maybe like a pastry tip and make a polka dot pattern, or if you use the kind of pastry tip you use for chantilly cream, you can make sort of flowers on top, which I think is also very attractive to have. And also something I'd like to note is that with these pink rose-colored ones, I mixed the pasta, the cookie dough on top a little too much, so it came out a little crumbly. If you mix the topping a little too much, it can crumble a bit, but it still tastes pretty good, I think. So let's give these a bit of a try. That is awfully good. It's the topping's very crisp, and the inside is very soft and supple. kind of like biting into a baby's behind. Not that I would know anything about behinds. Well, that's how to make conchas, and these really are just delightful soft buns. And if you don't feel like serving them just as buns, you could also maybe cut them in half and fill them with jam and whipped cream, and I think that would make a very groovy plated dessert. And also something to note is that these last for about a day, and they'll still be good after a day, but they won't be quite as soft. And if you do want to use old conchas, what you could do is you could maybe cut them in half and then fill them with almond cream and then bake them again, and you'll have sort of like an almond croissant but with a concha. But that's very much up to you, and as my mother always says, what you do with your buns is your own business. So, thanks very much for joining me today on the Baking Chin. My name is Ian Chin, and as always I wish you happy baking.
Cantando se alegran cielito lindo los corazones.
You get away from them buns, Molly.